Hey, well, first of all, I want to say hi to everyone watching or listening around the world, and thank you so much for tuning in with us today. Liam Hartery here, and I'm presenting today episode 456 of Presenting Champions for Simply Inspired. And today I am joined by a very special and very exciting guest, Damien Dibbell, power slap world heavyweight champion and one of the biggest stars in this sport. Now, everybody knows that this is a rapidly growing sport, getting bigger and bigger. And so, even though this man has already won the title, I'm going to say that the best is yet to come. But what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be taking a sneak peek into what's already happened in this man's amazing career, what's going to happen next, what motivates him to do what he does, and some other very cool things. So, Champ, like I was saying just now, before we were recording, appreciate you making the time for this. Appreciate you taking time out of your morning, and thanks for that, man. Thank you.
Ain't no problem at all, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously now you're walking around as the champ, and I think that it must be an incredible feeling. So I'm actually going to kick things off with how it actually feels to be walking around as a world champion. Let's start there, just to kick things off.
I mean, for the longest time, it was just a surreal experience. I, I never even planned to get into combat sports originally. So to do this and then get to the world champion stage, it's really been eye-opening on my own perspective on a lot of things. So I'm really grateful to have even the opportunity to win that belt, and it's been incredible ever since I did.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the other things I'm getting a vibe now. I mean, obviously we've literally just sat down together, but you seem very humble, very chilled, But then you, at the same time, you're getting a lot of respect, and rightly so. You're probably getting a lot of interview requests like this, a lot of fan, DMs and all this type of stuff. How do you respond to basically, being quite famous now, considering that was never really the plan, as you just said there in the beginning? If you get where I'm going, I mean, how does it feel to be known all around the world, basically?
It's honestly, it's you still don't really think about it all the time. It's just you get stopped in the street every once in a while, and you get reminded, oh, your face is here, your face is there. Like it's a surreal experience, and it's really been a struggle for me, because I'm not really that extroverted of a person. So for me, being out in front of all these people has kind of been a challenge. But I've been slowly growing, working at communication and dealing with the fans and the interviews, and it's really made me better as a person, I think.
That's awesome, man. That's an awesome answer because it shows we've got to play to our strengths in life, and but at the same time, I think being a more introverted person, there's a lot of gifts with that, and believe it or not, I'm actually the same. Even though I do this all the time and I'm always out there speaking, I totally get where you're coming from with that one. And we live in a world that never shuts up, really. So to embrace being a bit more on the quiet side of things, I think that's an important message for people. And not to go off on a tangent here, by the way, but this is also why I like to humanize athletes as well, because people see you like in the competition, and you don't get an introverted vibe there. You get quite a confident vibe, obviously. Hey, I know,
Oh yeah.
but then that's why I like to show behind the scenes, by the way, because people can see what really makes you tick. Now, on that subject of what motivates you and what makes you tick and everything like that, I would like to go back in time a little bit and just talk about like your starts in sport and what motivated you to do this. I wanted to kick things off on a high because you're on a high. I mean, the champ, like I said, is awesome. But in terms of like the starting point of this and the initial
Yeah.
inspiration, where did that come from for you to want to do this?
Honestly, it came from a place of boredom. Like I was just working my day job. I was saving up for, I was actually going to UCF at the time. So I was in the process of getting my bachelor's degree, and I just saw YouTube videos of sap fight championships and all the Russian dudes slapping each other. I just thought it was really cool. It would be something exciting to try out. I mean, I'd always been interested in boxing, and I'd started training for that, but I saw stat fighting. I was like, oh, that seems fun. So I tried that out for the first time, and absolutely loved it. I thought it was a super fun match. So I just kept trying and trying, and then eventually Power Step reached out to me, and once I realized that this was going to be a legitimate like sport, and they were really trying to grow this thing to the international level, it was really excited to be brought on, especially on like the very first season.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Okay, so just boredom, just okay. I want something a little bit more from life. I want a little bit more fun. And look where that's taking you. Now, your day job, I've read somewhere about like you being a mover and being in that profession. I'm not sure if you're still doing that now, but tell us a little bit about like your day-to-day life outside of competition because I think people will be interested in that too, you know?
Oh yeah. My day to day, I go to work at a tree company now. Used to be a mover. I like to stay active at whatever job I'm in right now. Like, definitely could find an easier job on the body, but I honestly like that constant 8, 10 hour grind. I feel like it puts a strength on you that not a lot of people are going to get working in the gym because it's that job has to get done, and that pushes you to move a little bit faster, lift a little bit heavier to keep getting the jobs done quickly. So, I really love the active jobs to keep me moving.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm big into video games, big into anime. So after a long day of work, I'll come home, pop a Modelo, play a little video games, a little Assassin's Creed, not as much Call of Duty anymore, but back in the day, a little Call of Duty, watch some anime, and then usually I'll hit the gym, go running, depending on how I'm feeling, and it's just rinse and repeat.
Love it, absolutely love it. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think it's really cool because, it sounds like you're living your dream. I mean, you've got like a job you enjoy, obviously you're world champion with this, you've got your other interests. I love a bit of anime as well, by the way, so I totally get where you're coming from there as well. But
Oh yeah,
this type of thing, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we all have our ups and downs in life, so I'm sure you have that, but it sounds like a really nice balanced place. And I think that's cool for people to hear, like I say, behind the scenes. Now, that was something else that interests me with the work, obviously, trees, moving before that, these kinds of things, building the strength. How do you train basically for slap fighting? Because, the sport's getting bigger and everything, but a lot of people still won't really know this because obviously your work factors into it, as you just said, but you also mentioned about like the running and the gym and things. I'd like to get a little bit more of a deeper insight into like what you do to build that strength to slap because to a lot of people out there, it's still basically a mystery, what these guys are doing
oh
with
yeah.
their teeth.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of guys have their own specific workouts, things that they really like to do the most. For me, I like really focusing power. I have one technique that I've really been honing in on for the past like 3, 4 years now. So I've really been focusing on power. So that involves a lot of strength, just muscle building, shoulders, core, a lot of back, legs are important. And when you're in the gym, there's certain workouts you could do rotation wise to help you practice engaging all of your muscles into your slap because that's really important. You want to be engaging as much of your body as you can when you're throwing the slap. So it's a lot of that, a lot of flexibility, rotation. You got to have that torque, so you got to make sure you're loose enough to actually throw it. Because I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I've definitely almost thrown my back out throwing a swing or once or twice before. So it's important to make sure that you're well rested and really focusing on flexibility and mobility on top of the strike.
Absolutely, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm loving the vibe there, man, because even you know what you were saying just now about like the trees and the moving as well,
Yeah,
and your job, it's got like a real old school vibe, I mean, you said about boxing and things. I'm thinking this is like the throwback to like when you hear about guys like George Foreman and Ernie Shavers and these kind of guys training back, like way back in the day. And you don't hear a lot of that as much in the same way now. You hear a lot of like really fancy stuff that people are doing, which is okay, but old school never fails. So I mean that's not really a question, but I love that. I mean I just think that's really cool. So with the slap fights that you've had so far, most people will have seen them. However, I just want to account for people who are hearing this story the first time. Walk us through the actual fights that you've had. And the reason I like asking it this way, by the way, is it's one thing to watch them, like I've seen most of them, all of them, I think I've seen of yours. But at the same time, it's different hearing it like your memories. So it's kind of might seem a bit obvious in a way. But when you walk through them, you mention things that people never will have really heard of just from watching it, if you get what I mean. So
yeah.
yeah, let's just walk through them for a couple of minutes. I think that would be really cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. My first fight was Power Step One against Dwayne Crespo, and me and him are actually like really good friends. Like we became best friends after that fight. But I knocked him out in the second round, and I feel like that was like the first hard fight I had coming in, just in the sport in general, because I had a couple fights previously, but that was definitely the fight that cemented my trajectory in the sport, and I tried to use that momentum going into my next fight against Ron. And honestly, that was a hard fought fight. Power Step 2 against Wolverine. It was honestly probably around 3 or 4 that I really was like feeling it after a while. The hits were he connects it on the same spot pretty much every single time, so the damage was just building up. And I was still bad at scoring fights because again I never really done fighting beforehand, so I thought I was losing the entire event up until like the fourth or fifth round when I knocked him down. Like he was clean sitting down. That was probably like the biggest moment of my career right there. At least back then, that was like cements me as one of the best in the sport, beating a legend like Wolverine. So that was honestly like a huge motivation to keep working at it and keep improving. And especially since I got the belt at that point, there's that you're not a champion until you defend it. So I was really focused on defending that belt and making sure that I won my next fight. So going into my next fight with Nate, I was nervous because I mean he's everyone compares the two of us because we look so similar. People always joke that he's a bigger version of me. So going up and fighting him, it was like, okay, I'm going to really need to be on top of my defense. Going to need to make sure I'm taking these hits, breathing properly, doing everything I need to do on my end, and making sure I deal some good damage to rattle him at least a little bit. I was going into this fight very prepared, and getting the first round knockout was honestly just it was the most exciting thing I've probably done in Power Step yet because I still haven't done anything like that. But that was it was a sketchy knockout, even in my opinion. I thought that he was going to keep going, and there was a little animosity back there when I laughed at the end of our fight because I he thought I was laughing at him, but I'm really laughing at the judges. Like, Brett, he stood up. He's good to go. He like if you ever watch that fight back, he jumped up, and I saw that and I turned around to go start getting ready because I was like, all right, we got to fight. So that was a big moment for me that really like showed that my hard work was paying off. I was doing it right, and I just needed to keep working hard and honing in my craft. So that's really what I did going into my Ryan Phillips fight. Just kept the consistency, kept pushing it, pushing myself every day in the gym just a little bit further. And that fight I was pretty confident in. Not none against Ryan Phillips, but I just felt like I was in really good form for that fight. So seeing him eat the shots like he was, I was like, okay, let me turn it up a little more. All right, let me turn it up a little more. That's why that's round 4. Just all of a sudden he was out, and honestly, that was the craziest knockout I've ever gotten because he dropped pretty hard. I feel bad that the catchers didn't pick him up because he fell fast and hard and definitely hurt himself going down. Like there's no way that was completely clean fall. But that was a very big moment for me. And then going into my Dorian fight, which is my third title defense. So I also have the most title defenses right now. But third title the defense against Dorian Perez, that was easily my hardest fight. Definitely was too close to losing that one. So that's when I really started looking back and seeing what I could do to get better, work on my defense. I mean, there's definitely a lot of things I could have done differently to help myself in that fight, but the fight happened. Just watching back, using it as material to grow and improve from. But man hits hard and he could take a hit. Like nothing against his clubs, that it hurt in the first round, but if you want to be champion, you got to be able to move past that. So whenever anyone asks me about how you deal with those clubs, it's not even how you deal with them, it's expecting them. You, as the champion, you got to accept that you're going to get clubbed at some point. Someone's going to chop you in the neck. Someone's going to hit you in the eye. I mean, I got hit in the eye against Ryan Phillips. I didn't do nothing against that. Just dusted it off. Like it happens in the sport. So it's really about just honing your craft to reaching perfection because it's five slaps. Like there's not a lot of room for error in this sport. So really trying to be perfect is the goal of the sport. And I've been pushing that limit for the past couple years now. So I'm hoping in the future, going into my next fight, I could show, you know, me versus Nate, me versus Rod Phillips, that Damien to come back and get a knockout.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I believe you will. We'll talk about the future now in a moment. But first of all, awesome description. I mean, I love asking that question because, like I said before, you never really know what's going to come back.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing seeing the fight, but it's another thing like your memories. A couple of things I wanted to hone in on there, though, that people won't necessarily see from the outside as well. One of them is obviously the whole mental aspect of competition. Because what I mean by that is we've spoken about like the physical training and all of these kinds of things, but there's a very strong mental aspect. You mentioned there with one of them about handling the nerves and things. Obviously you're out there on the big stage. There's people watching, there's streaming. There's all these things going on. So you've got to have a very strong mind as well as a strong body to do this. And basically, I'd like to get into the techniques of how you do that. How you maintain the composure, the pain threshold, the nerves. I mean, there's a few different things there.
Oh yeah. It's weird. I've honestly been ever since my first fight, I realized I was okay on a stage in front of cameras like that when I'm competing, just because I'm a very hyper focused person. So whenever that walkout starts and my song starts playing, that's really that mental aspect of just focusing on your music, locking into what you need to do, and going up there and proving that you're better than that person on that day. Like that's really what I repeat to myself in my head. Like if I am nervous, I'm trying to calm myself down. Just it's just a fight. That's just a person, just a man versus man. Do you think he's better than you? If the answer is yes, why are you taking the fight? Like I know that I'm better than that opponent, so I'm not going to let that get into my head and doubts creep in. No, I'm going to prove that I am better than that person, and that's it at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I love that because, like I said already, I mean, it's something that people don't see, and it's something that always fascinates me as well. I mean, this is the thing when I've seen your fights and everything, you can tell there's a very strong mental aspect, which is part of the reason why I'm asking that. You can kind of feel that go ahead of you a little bit. It's hard to explain,
Oh
but
yeah,
anyway, I mean, that's really cool, and obviously that's on the day. But in terms of the nerves aspect as well, do you get that like before, like in the build up to it, like days out or anything? And how do you handle that? Because if I put myself in your shoes for a minute, as much as possible, if possible, I can kind of imagine, walking out and focus, like when you've got the atmosphere, but like sitting at home, like the night before or like a couple of days out. I always feel, and having been in also in a lot of dressing rooms and fight camps and things in my life as well as a journalist, that's the bit that I just think, wow, I mean, that is impressive. How do you handle that type of pressure a few more days out,
yeah, yeah.
basically?
That's really when the nerves are bad for a lot of people, and especially me when I first started the going into the Dwayne Crespo fight, and all the way up until probably Ryan Phillips. I used to get pretty bad nerves the week before, the month before, just always running through the your mind the possibility that this could be the fight that you lose, especially when you're undefeated in the sport right now. Like this could be that one fight. Oh, this could be the one guy. He could just have my number locked in. But it's that constant reminder that no matter what, you're just going to have to prove what you're made of and put out your strongest self. So no matter what, and I'm a chill guy in general. So anytime that starts getting too much, you just have to come back to home base, recenter yourself, and really focus on what you're trying to do in the sport. And are you going to let somebody stop you from doing that? So there's a lot of mental fight against yourself, fight against your opponent. A lot of guys know there's a mental game and try to get into each other's heads before fights. Like Ryan tried to do that. Dorian tries to do that a lot, but not letting that happen is really what helps you do better in the sport because you got to be focused when you're going up there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I love the raw honesty there, keeping it real and everything like that. I mean, I know that's the type of guy you are, but I asked that question for two reasons. Obviously, one of them, as I've already said, is the humanization. Showing like what goes on behind the scenes and what you go through, but also, for other people wanting to get into this sport or other fight sports in general, it kind of shows them that going through that is something everyone goes through. It's just how you handle it. So I think that's also really important because I do like to put that little bit of
Oh yeah,
inspiration. And I am curious as well. I know we've kind of touched on a couple of these things, but to go deeper into two other things here, then we'll talk about the future. The whole pain threshold thing. I mean, getting hit square on like that, it is very sort of unique and unusual because, like you were saying earlier, boxing and everything, and well, every other sport. I mean, you've got defense obviously, but with this, you are literally standing there and taking a hit, which is very unique and controversial for some people, but hey, whatever. But in terms of like how you physically push through pain, I know you touched on that, but I'd like to go a little bit deeper into that, just because I mean, there's nothing else like it really in the world where you have to handle it in the way that you guys do. So, how do you handle that personally as it's happening?
I mean, as it's happening, it's honestly funny because I feel like there's two types of fighters: the ones that get excited off of it, and the ones that get demoralized off of it.
Okay.
And you could switch between the two depending on the night. For most people, it comes in waves. Like you'll feel the sting first, and then the pain later. And for me, I don't feel any of the pain until I'm cleared, done, out of the event, drinking at the bar, in the casino. So it's never really been a problem of the pain, but you will feel when a hit has rattled you, and that's honestly the scariest part. And
Yeah.
it's just as I said before, just recentering yourself, refocusing. You got to get back up there within a minute. So you use the time talking and talking to your coach to focus back on what you're doing and your technique and what you've been practicing on.
Absolutely, absolutely. It makes sense. It makes sense. I also want to ask you as well. I asked you at the beginning, like walking around as the champion now, and going everywhere. You were saying about like getting stopped on the street and all this kind of stuff. But the other thing I like to sort of touch on with world champions in different sports is the moment that you actually win. Because like literally, like when it actually I was going to say sinks in, but obviously it probably doesn't sink in until later. But the moment where you kind of realize it's real and you are the world champion. And like I say, I know we kick things off with this, but when I ask people what goes through your mind, literally like in that second, some people say you can put it into words. Some people say, they can't even put it into words. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. Different people say different things. But for you, I mean, in literally that second or that minute, that moment, what goes through your mind in a moment like that, man? I mean, that's what I'd love to know.
Honestly, for me, I think the biggest emotion was just relief. Just like, because I hate losing. So knowing I won and beat someone like Braun to win the belt, it was just pure relief that I actually did it. All of the training was worth it because at the end of the day, if you lose a fight, was it even worth it? Like that's why, like in my head, I don't like losing. Don't not at all. So just winning that belt and proving that I was the best in my division really was just the biggest relief and like deep breath release from my lungs. Like it was a nice moment.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool because again, it's something that people kind of see from watching the fight, but they don't feel what you felt. And the last thing about this, just so I don't forget, you mentioned also a lot about like the bar and stuff, and I just so this doesn't slip my mind. Celebrating after you win, I mean, that is something that I think, after a big win, what do you do to kind of, let your head down, so to speak, or whatever phrase you want to use, as they say, after, like you're saying, after all the training and after that relief has happened.
Honestly, it's a immediate after party at the casino or wherever Dana White decides that he's going to show up. So going to that, making your rounds, meeting everybody, chatting, making connections that you know, there's so many people there and so many people that you're not going to see on the daily. So making those connections and chatting with those people is really the best thing you could be doing. And then outside of that, well, I love an In-N-Out burger. So it's in Vegas. I'm always getting me an In-N-Out burger, maybe a little fireball to go wash it down, and then just coasting until my flight the next day because we usually have to fly out pretty early the next day, so can't go too crazy.
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, well deserved celebration. And yeah, I mean, the after party and stuff and the Vegas side of things and, the glitz and glamour. Tell us about some of the famous people that you've kind of met along the way, not only like the other Power Slap guys, but I mean, even people like Dana himself, but like other fighters and other people who were there, anybody, I don't know, I mean, in your own words, but you've probably bumped into some cool people on this
Oh
journey.
yeah, I've I mean we've had a lot of famous people at our events, but personally I've only met like a handful of them. I mean, I saw Cam Newton. I mean, I brushed past him when we were going to the casino, but never really met him. I feel like the coolest celebrity I met was God, I forget his last name. Have you ever watched Shameless? The guy that plays Carl?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Ethan something. Yeah, I've met him at our event, and that was awesome. He's a really chill guy, very nice to talk to. But we've had like Tom Brady, we had rappers, a bunch of influencers, a couple of influencers I actually was fans of out there, like Luke Elsman and his friend Brody. So it's nice seeing that aspect of the sport and meeting these people that I never would have expected to meet.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is again, like with the inspiration side of it for other people getting into this. I mean, even a few names you've mentioned there, it's more than a lot of people ever get a chance to meet. So, there's that, but I know there'll also be more for you as well. We need to give a mention to the people who help you behind the scenes as well. And then we'll go into the future and your future plans, which I want to talk about in kind of a few different stages. But obviously, in terms of like trainers, coaches, sponsors, the thing is, when it comes to helping fighters, there's a lot of good people doing good work behind the scenes. And again, it's a behind the scenes thing. That's a theme of what I do, who don't get seen. And the reason I'm kind of giving this, contextualizing this basically, is obviously you have like literal help of people training you and coaching you, helping you, etc. But you'll also get people helping you in kind of less tangible ways or less, ways that people don't even realize. So I just want to give this opportunity to give them a shout out of anybody you'd like to mention. I'm sorry if it's a big question because there's probably quite a few people, but yeah, the people who've helped you basically.
Huh. Honestly, the main person and honestly one of the only people that's really supported me since day one and pushed me to get this far is my wife. Dakota. She's been great. She's the one that actually convinced me to sign up because I was iffy about whether I should actually do it or not. And she was the one that's like, if you're really contemplating it this much, just go do it. Like just go get it over with. But she helps me meal prep. She'll meal prep my whole week's meals for me. She'll help be there at the gym. Always there, smile on her face, being the best wife she can be. So she's definitely number one supporter all the way. She's giving me a heart behind the camera. She does so much for me, like all my media stuff. She helps me do my merch. Like she really is that one person company behind the scenes helping me get a lot of my stuff done. But I do have a couple other family members, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, they've been there supporting me along this journey. My all my in-laws, all my family on the other side, both sides of my family have been really they've been there in the audience. They've been supporting me, showing their kindness, giving my page some love. So I do appreciate all of them. And my friends that came up with my fight name, freaking Matt R. We're just chilling in the trucks when he came up with my, actual fight name. So, I appreciate him for setting me up for that some freaking 5 years ago now.
That's awesome, man. See, again, I love asking that question because there you go. I mean, family, the ultimate blessing, like I was saying at the beginning. But yeah, people who've helped you along the way, giving them some credit. I love that. Absolutely love that. So your future plans, this kind of, from where I'm sitting, kind of has two sides because you've literally got the future plans within slap fight itself. But then you mentioned earlier about like having the interest in boxing and some of these other things. And given the profile you've got now as well, I'm curious if you want to like transition into anything else in the future. Also, might be too soon to tell. I don't know. So it kind of got those two sides that I can see. But basically, your future plans in your own words, as far ahead in time as you want to go, that's up to you. But it'd be good to hear about what's next.
Awesome. Yeah. Right now, I didn't mention it earlier in my daily routine, but I try to squeeze in some studying for my LSAT because I'm trying to get into a law school. I actually might be moving soon to further pursue that goal, get residency in the state we want to live in and, start getting the process started of attending. But as far as sports go, I'm loving power slap, but I would definitely like to try boxing or MMA in the future. Even armored MMA, like dirty boxing. I was there when Yoel Romero fought my boy Dwayne Crespo. I was actually cornering him for that fight. So it was nice seeing all these different events, and I definitely want to try something else out. Just whenever I get the opportunity, and power slap is like gives me the okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I mean, obviously, like I said at the beginning, I mean, in Power Slam itself, I think there's some amazing things yet to come. I mean, I know we've spent the time looking back, but I think there's really big things that are going to happen next for you. But yeah, I mean, the whole, trying out like other combat sports and everything as well, that would be awesome. I mean, to be honest, just from my side, I think that would be really, really cool. Okay, so that's a little bit about the future. Um, a couple of things there because you said about like your merchandise and obviously you've got the socials and you've got like places where people can follow you. Now, some people hearing this, they all know the story already, and that's cool. People hearing about you for the first time, or people who've only seen you as kind of this big tough guy, in power slap, but now they get the human side. They want to follow you, they want to connect, and everything like this. Basically, just give yourself a plug about where they can reach out to you to follow you but also to connect with you because I've got to say before you answer that, obviously you're a very accessible guy, very humble, very down to earth individual, very respectful. I like the way you kind of carry yourself as a person. So I'm just putting it out there to anyone who's listening. But basically, yeah, they want to connect with you one way or another. How do they do that?
At the Bell SF, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, if you still have it. I'm on all of them. I'm most active on Instagram because I like Instagram Reels. They're goofy as hell, but that's usually what I'll respond to you the fastest. Still might take a couple of days, but I'll respond to you on the Instagram. And I still got, videos on TikTok. Go check those out, give them some love. And here soon, I want to start getting some more YouTube videos out. So check me out on YouTube, the Bell SF. I think it's like 2424 because someone stole my name. So check me out on there as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just to give you, like I say, to build a community, because I don't always just see it as followers. I mean, there's a community of people who
Right.
support you. I think my last question pretty much is going to be one of the aspect, kind of intangible aspect I like to touch on. Right at the beginning, you said about how like doing interviews and doing all this kind of stuff has like grown you as a person, and you've kind of changed in a positive way, and you kind of touched on that. My last question before we close out, I just because I got a feeling to bring this up, sort of intuition or whatever, is like how you've grown from your achievements, from competition, um, from everything you've been doing, but in areas outside of fighting, if that makes sense, or like, as
Yeah.
a family man, as a man. I feel that's a really important topic to close out with, and then we'll close out from there, champ, because we've covered some good stuff. But do you mind touching on that aspect
Yeah.
a bit?
Yeah. I haven't been asked that question in a good minute. So that's a fire question. Honestly, it's been really hard transitioning into doing all these interviews. And originally, I was really anxious whenever I was doing an interview. I had a lot of problems communicating with people, like in big groups, like a lot of those like small things. And just after a while, it helps build your self confidence. You're going on stage, getting viewed by millions of people, getting slapped in the face. Why are you worried about this? Why are you worried about that? It's like that small little reminder has helped push me to build confidence and try more things, do more things I wouldn't normally be doing, but I'm excited to try out and really dip my toe into other sports and other professions even. Like and that has really helped boost my self confidence that no matter the adversity that I'm going through, I could push through it, work hard, and reach the end of the tunnel. Like I cannot say enough about how this sport has really pushed me to be a better person, and not just my communication, but also like reflecting how I treat people outside of the ring. Because
Yeah,
when all those fans would come and talking to you, approaching you, always being kind and showing that kindness first, showing that respect first, and seeing their face light up when, just a basic conversation makes their day, and just answering a couple questions for someone online, completely changes their mood, turns them into a fan. Things like that, really hit the heart. And I feel like it helps build you up and only make you stronger.
absolutely. I love that. I mean, that's an awesome way to close out. And, like I say, it's just kind of an instinct. Um, the human side, the fighters, it's inspirational for people starting out, as I've already said. So, listen, I'm excited to see what the future holds for you, champ, in Power Slap, but also in other sports as well. I'll be cheering from you one way or another. And just please take that away with you of how much you're reaching around the world, right? Because we didn't really get into this, but I'm from the UK. I'm in Cyprus now, in Europe, next to Greece, and that kind of shows the reach that you're getting now with millions of people around the world. I'm really excited to see where it leads you, and also I will say as well, even though you said um, you get nervous with interviews and things. I mean, I'm sure you've had a lot of practice by now as well, but still, you've done a great job today because you've spoken from the heart, and at the end of the day, like I said before, I know that's the kind of guy you are, but I love that because it's really relatable to people, and it's really what they want to hear. So I just want to say a big thank you for sharing so much about your life, being an open book, and who knows, maybe we'll do a part two one day, either down the road in Power Slap or whatever you're doing next. I will send you this when it's released. Would be very grateful for a reshare as well. But other than that, just thank you very much for your time, and I hope a few more people hear about your journey from this. I'm sure they will. We'll go from there, man. But thank you very much again.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on. It's been a great interview. You're a great guy, I can tell.
Thank you. So you've got a good heart, and like I can feel that. So yeah, just keep that up, because at the end of the day, combat sports can be cutthroat, but in a lot of ways, I really get the people's champion vibe from you, and people throw around that word a lot, but I actually do get that because, like what I said about the social media, you're connected, you're humble, you've got the time for people. Love that. So, you have a great day. Best wishes to you and your family, and yeah, thank you again for your time. You take care.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye now. Bye bye. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.